Ambassador Zixith clicked his mandibles nervously as he approached the massive crystalline structure that housed the Galactic Council's war archives. For 3 cycles, he had been investigating the most puzzling mystery in known space: why Earth, a planet teeming with resources and strategically positioned near 17 major hyperspace lanes, had never been invaded despite being discovered over 2 centuries ago. The blue-green world should have been conquered within solar rotations of first contact. Its inhabitants possessed primitive technology, fractured governments, and seemed perpetually engaged in conflicts among themselves. By all conventional wisdom, Earth should have been an easy target for any of the dozens of expansionist species that roamed the galaxy. Yet it remained untouched. Zixith's research had begun when his own species, the Kethvar Dominion, had proposed Earth as their next conquest. The proposal had been met with immediate and unanimous rejection from every member of the Council, even species that typically supported territorial expansion. When pressed for explanations, the elder races had simply stated that humans were best left alone, without elaborating further. The archive's AI interface materialized before him, its holographic form shifting between various peaceful configurations. "Greetings, Ambassador. How may the archive serve you today? I require access to all classified files regarding species designation Terra 3, subsection Human," Zixith stated, inserting his authorization crystal. Processing. Access granted. Warning: these files are classified at level Omega. Viewing. Requires psychological stability assessment. Zixith frowned, but submitted to the brief neural scan. Moments later, the first file materialized before him. It was labeled First Contact Incident, Rigelian Empire, star date 2387.4. The report detailed how a Rigelian scouting fleet had approached Earth, intending to demand submission from the primitive inhabitants. The lead ship had broadcast the standard ultimatum in several Earth languages, expecting immediate capitulation. Instead, they received a response from something called the United Nations, requesting a diplomatic meeting. Curious about these apparently peaceful humans, the Rigelians had agreed to land a small delegation in a city called New York. What happened next had shocked the galactic community. The humans hadn't just welcomed the aliens, they had celebrated them. Within hours, every major news network on the planet was broadcasting the historic first contact. Humans gathered in massive crowds, not to attack or flee, but to cheer and offer gifts. Children drew pictures of the Rigelian ships. Scientists lined up to share their research. Musicians composed songs about the visitors. But the most disturbing part came when the human delegation presented their own proposal. They wanted to share everything. Their art, their music, their literature, their scientific discoveries, their cultural practices, everything that made them human. They asked for nothing in return except friendship and the opportunity to learn about Rigelian culture. The Rigelian. Admiral's final report was telling. These beings are either the most sophisticated psychological warfare specialists in the galaxy, or they represent something entirely unprecedented. Recommend immediate withdrawal and classification of this species as anomalous. Approach with extreme caution. Zixith moved to the next file. Attempted invasion. Zorvac hegemony, stardate 24017. The Zorvacs had interpreted human friendliness as weakness. Their invasion fleet had arrived expecting easy conquest, only to discover that humans possessed something the Zorvacs hadn't anticipated: an absolutely terrifying capacity for rapid adaptation and unified response to existential threats. Within hours of the first Zorvak attack, humans had reverse-engineered captured technology. Within days, they were modifying their own weapons to be effective against Zorvak shields. Within weeks, they had not only repelled the invasion, but had tracked the retreating fleet back to their staging area and destroyed it entirely. The truly unsettling part was what happened next. When additional Zorvak forces arrived expecting to find their enemies celebrating victory, they instead found humans attempting to rescue Zorvak survivors from the wreckage. Humans had risked their own lives to save the very beings who had tried to exterminate them. The Zorvak report concluded, humans are either psychotically altruistic or operating on a level of strategic thinking we cannot comprehend. Either possibility makes them too dangerous to engage. File after file revealed similar patterns. The Crystalline Collective had attempted economic conquest, only to discover that humans viewed trade as an opportunity for cultural exchange rather than domination. The Void Hunters had tried to intimidate Earth into submission with displays of their world-ending weapons, only to have humans respond by inviting them to a space barbecue and asking if they wanted to see human children's drawings of spaceships. The most chilling report came from the apex predator species, beings who had conquered half the galaxy through pure aggression. Their file was brief. Attempted psychological warfare through terror tactics. Humans responded by creating art about us, writing stories that portrayed us sympathetically, and developing technology to help us work through our aggression issues. Recommend avoiding this species at all costs. They are trying to domesticate us. Zixith stumbled backward from the interface, his multiple hearts racing. Every advanced species in the galaxy had reached the same conclusion. Humans were too dangerous to conquer not because of their weapons or their military might, but because of something far more terrifying. They had an unlimited capacity to transform enemies into friends, to find common ground with beings that had nothing in common with them, and to respond to hatred with curiosity and violence with compassion. They were apex predators of social bonding, capable of weaponizing empathy itself. The final file in the archive was labeled Council Resolution 2891X, the Earth Quarantine Protocol. It was short and to the point. After extensive analysis, the Galactic Council hereby declares the human homeworld Earth to be under permanent protection status. No member species may attempt conquest, invasion, or hostile contact with this world. Humans represent a clear and present danger to the established galactic order, not through violence, but through their catastrophic ability to make other species question the fundamental assumptions underlying our civilization. Any species that attempts to invade Earth will find themselves not conquered, but converted. They will return home, carrying human ideas about cooperation, art, individual worth, and the possibility of peace between different species. These concepts are classified as mimetic hazards of the highest order. For the stability of galactic civilization, humanity must remain contained on their homeworld until such time as we can develop psychological countermeasures to their influence. Zixith slowly backed away from the archives, finally understanding why Earth had never been invaded. It wasn't that humans were too strong to conquer, it was that they were too human. In a galaxy built on the assumption that different species must inevitably be enemies, humans represented something genuinely alien, the possibility that things could be different. As he left the archives, Zixith made a mental note to vote against any future proposals involving contact with Earth. Some threats were too dangerous to face, and hope, it seemed, was the most dangerous weapon of all.